I'm sure at this point, you've probably heard the Eminem song, Lose Yourself. His palms are sweaty, knees weak, arms are heavy. There's vomit on his sweater already, mum's spaghetti. He's nervous, but on the surface, he looks calm and ready. And while I don't profess to be a lyrical genius like Eminem, there is likely a point in your lives where you felt that situation, potentially not with the spaghetti on your jumper. But the reality is that confidence at some point and that of low confidence can affect us all in some description. So in this episode, we're going to look at it. We're going to look at why it is and how we can overcome and develop ourselves to deal with points in our lives where our confidence starts to wane. Welcome back to episode 3 of Between the Noise, a reflective space for parents and professionals as they try to navigate work, life, and everything in between. I'm Chris. I'm an executive coach. And I want to give you this opportunity to talk about confidence, look at why certain things are the way they are, and hopefully provide some actionable steps for you to be able to take forward into your life that can help you move ahead in a more confident and freeing way. So I'm sure at some point you've hit a point where you've got sweaty palms, dry throat, you're uneasy, and you feel like you're being watched or judged. It might be when you're having to stand up and deliver a brief or a presentation to someone, and that's not your natural environment. And confidence in that moment can take a hit, and we start to question ourselves and we start to think that we're on our own in this situation, element of isolation, or that we're not enough. Maybe that imposter syndrome starts to really take hold and kind of grab you and your ability. The thing is that when we do that, we often tend to then avoid those experiences completely. We just don't get involved in them. And so that knock-on effect is that we close ourselves off. We stop giving things a go in general, which isn't helpful for us. And so the way that I like to look at this is when you get into that situation is that confidence isn't under attack. It's not weakness that you're showing. It's just that right now your confidence is dipping. And there's many reasons for that, but in the grand scheme of things, it's because you're trying something that you're uncomfortable with. And being uncomfortable is absolutely fine. I want to tell you that from personal experience. One of the main things I have to do in my day job is stand up in front of a variety of different people. That can be quite junior personnel where they haven't got that experience and they look at me as this figure of knowledge and the behaviours that they want. On the other side of that, there's also very senior people that I have to talk to, all the way up to kind of ministerial level. And sometimes you do get a little bit like, God, what am I doing here? Is this where I'm meant to be? And so confidence still hits us. Even now, I'm talking to you about how to overcome it. And I still get bouts where my confidence dips and I question whether I'm worthy enough to do the thing that I'm actually standing there and delivering. So please take that as all is not lost. You are not broken. You are not weak. You are not incapable of doing the things that you're doing. But hopefully, as we explain what confidence is and why this happens, maybe you'll be able to find some peace in that and move forward in a more confident, wholly better way. So what is confidence and what isn't it? The working definition of confidence is a belief in yourself and a willingness to act on that belief in yourself. So it's having the self-belief to think that you can do that. So your internal belief system says, great, I can do that. Not a problem. Let's get on with it. And that in itself is linked to the thoughts, perceptions, and the actions that you have surrounding your life. So when we look at the thoughts is that I can do that. Perceptions of I am good enough to do that. And the action is that maybe you've already done it before, or that you know what you're doing enough to be able to just stand up and crack on. The thing is that if confidence were easy, everybody would have it. And I'll let that sink in for a second. If confidence were easy, everybody would be the most confident person in the world. But the reality is that that's not the case. You know, the UK is showing widespread confidence struggles at the moment, and that's not going to get any easier. As more things transition online, as more things transition to AI, what we're going to find is that where people would normally have had that physical experience of doing something, that is gone, that's lost. And unfortunately, in many cases, it's going to be quite hard to come back. And so people's confidence is going to dip. And so we need to work out as individuals, as organisations, how we're going to help people get back on that and how we're going to help them overcome this confidence epidemic or epidemic that they're kind of going through at the moment. And again, with confidence, I'm not saying that this is a personal failure on your part. This is quite common. But when we look at confident people, there is a tendency for us to think, I'm not displaying the skills, behaviors, or presence that person is. And I don't think I can, so I'm never going to be confident. But that's wholly inaccurate and not true. It's about developing the skills behind that. And so within that section, what I want you to remember is that confidence isn't always a given, and it's not omnipresent in everyone's lives. When you see people that are displaying that level of self-belief and that confidence, as we'll come on to later, there is a potential that that's just situational. If they've been there before and they've done it, they know consciously that nothing dangerous is going to happen by performing that action. And so they're happy and content in themselves to crack on and do it. But you're not broken, you're not lost. And so how can we get you to that point as well? Which is what we're going to look at. And so from a parenting perspective, why does confidence hit parents so hard? Having children is one of the biggest life events you can possibly have. And, you know, for a dad, I can speak on my behalf, but also with my wife as she became a mum. During the pregnancy, you're still you. My wife, yes, she was dealing with the changes in her body, the changes in everything going on in her life. But when you look at it from a kind of strategic or bird's eye view, she was still her. And then all of a sudden, the day comes when your little one arrives, and then your identity shifts entirely because you're now parents. You've gone from being expecting to being parents, and there is a monumental shift in identity that happens within that. And there is often a kind of correlated or associated drop in confidence within the parent because of that identity shift. You start to doubt yourself more. You start to ask yourself, am I good enough? Am I good enough to be a parent, a dad or a mum to this little person? Am I doing this right? You know, maybe it's your first, even on your second or third, I imagine that it's still the same. Am I doing this right? Is this the right thing to be doing? But also within that, there's an added pressure to be a role model for that child. At every opportunity, any good parent will tell you that they want to be a role model for their kid. They want them to grow up right. They want them to experience things correctly. They want them to be safe, secure, and happy. And they want them to look to their parents and think, I want to be like that when I grow up. And power to you, you absolutely should want that for your kids. But alongside that, where you may not be the most confident person, you may be asking yourself these questions. What you tend to find is that you are trying to have to work really hard so that your kids see confidence in you. And that can take a really big mental toll. People do start to slip with that. And so what we're looking at here is the ability to break the cycle of that, break the cycle of I'm not good enough, I'm not doing this right, I need to be a role model. Because kids just learn through osmosis in the grand scheme of things. There's no great feat, there's no great action that you have to take. All we need to do is get you correct and right in your own heads, and then the rest of that follows. And so the fourth point in this is that confidence isn't fixed, it's contextual. You know, the binary thinking is that you are confident or you aren't confident. And I'm sure you've come across that before. If you're listening to this episode, it may well have been something you've struggled with. I know I have. I'm not overly confident. I have to mentally prepare myself to film these episodes. And so let's remove that binary thinking. So I want you to ask, when was the last time that you felt confident? When was the last time that you can honestly say, I was confident? And to you, that may mean something different to the next person that listens to this. But what I want to challenge is that confident or not idea. Not everybody can be overtly confident. We've changed from saying shy to quietly confident, and I think that's absolutely correct. Because in certain situations, I, as someone that's quite reserved, can be extremely confident. But throughout life, it does take a knock occasionally. And so like the story that I want to say is, so when I had a mental breakdown in 2024. Everything kind of got on top of me, a lot of things I hadn't dealt with, and it massively knocked my confidence to the point where I think for the best part of 3 or 4 weeks I didn't go outside. But on my 30th birthday, it was bought tickets to go to the Harry Potter studios. So I grew up with Harry Potter, dressed up as Harry Potter as a kid to win a competition, yet there's a photo somewhere of me in a Safeways winning a Harry Potter board game for being the best dressed Harry Potter. And so when we look at kind of the juxtaposition of really confident kid to Harry Potter Studios, really anxious, thinking that everybody's looking at me, nervous about being out because my confidence had taken such a knock, it really shows that contextually, on the face of it, I might seem quite confident, but on at the back end of that, everybody has their own struggles. So the insight here is like, it's the same person, but there's a completely different context. And so in certain situations, you might find that you are a lot more confident than you are in other situations. And that's completely fine. Because the thing is with confidence, and what I want you to understand is situational. When you're with your friends, I'll ask you this. When you're with your friends, are you confident? Could you describe yourself as being confident around them? Do you feel free? Do you feel at ease? Do you feel content? Are you able to crack a joke or two? Be yourself around your friends. And so where that confidence is. But then on the same sense, in the same kind of guise, I asked you, if I asked you to stand up in front of a room full of 30 strangers, would you be able to feel the same? For me, I would say, no, probably not initially, not until you get into the flow of things. That's one of the biggest points here, is that depending on where you are, depends on the situation. And depending on the situation, it will determine your confidence levels a lot of the time. And so when we move on to kind of overthinking and self-awareness element, you, as someone that may be experiencing something new and having that confidence drop, overthinking about that everyone's looking at me, nobody thinks I'm good enough, I really shouldn't be here, I don't deserve to be here, is that internal monologue that you're having with yourself. What I want you to understand is that, and kind of realize and hopefully sort of ingrain into your grey matter, is that confidence is situational. Why is the situation making me less confident? What can I possibly say to myself to reframe that idea in my head? So, for example, the kind of the Harry Potter story that we go back to, or if I talk about one of the brief sort of presentations I've delivered, is that people are here for the information I have. I am in the position of power because I am the one talking and delivering this presentation. The fact that I'm here says to me that I deserve to be here. The fact that I was chosen says that I have the ability to deliver this brief. And so when you start to reframe that confidence gap, that confidence kind of conundrum in your mind, it starts to really help you unpick some of that internal dialogue of judging, predicting, analysing everything to the nth degree, and helps you move past that. And so when we link that kind of internal dialogue to parenting, is that you as an adult carry the history of your life with you. If you've struggled with your confidence throughout your life, if you've struggled with self-belief throughout your life, you're the one that carries that with you, not your kids. Your kids just look to you. Everything is brand new. Everything is fresh in their minds. And so it's, what lessons would you like to instill in them? For me, I understand that sometimes my confidence dips, even now. And the lesson I want to instill in my child is that that's okay. There are times when I'm not confident. There are times when he may not be confident, but it's about recognizing that and understanding it. No, I mean, I'm trying to explain this to a 4-year-old or show it to a 4-year-old. So it's not going particularly well, but that thing is there in that not every situation you're going to be confident in. And it's about managing that so that you can still carry on and let that confidence grow. And so when we're looking at kind of a key message in understanding overthinking and self-awareness, is that awareness without self-compassion erodes confidence. If you're aware that you're not confident, but you're not saying to yourself, that's okay, I can develop that, I need reps in the chair, I need exposure to the thing, you're going to destroy your own confidence, and having that in the back of your mind will really help. And so when we look at kind of the 3 components of confidence within themselves, is when I did my research on this, I'm trying to find a nice, easy way to put this across. And the 3 elements that I kind of looked through are connection, competence, and choice. When we're looking at connection, is that feeling of belonging. It's that psychological safety. Is letting your guard down. And if you're experiencing something new, maybe you're not quite there yet. But then competence is the skill, the experience, and the familiarity with the thing. Being asked to do something new or uncertain may pique that lack of confidence within yourself. And so this really helps us to explain why confidence dips in unfamiliar territory. But then when we look at choice, it's, have you chosen to be there? Or have you been told you are delivering this brief to 30 people? You will go and you will do that. It's forced situations versus chosen challenges. And the key insight really here is that if you're missing one of these elements, then your confidence will take a hit. But then, as we'll keep on saying, it's about understanding that and being aware and being able to move past it. And onto kind of the more actionable elements within this is seeing low confidence as temporary. In discussions I have with the support network that I have, we look at confidence as a wave. So imagine yourself kind of stood on a beach and the wave comes in, and then what happens? It goes back out. And so that lack of confidence, that drop in your confidence is like a wave coming in. It's going to come in, it's going to hit you. It might knock you over, but there is always a certainty that that wave will go back out. It will end. You don't have to sit there and live with it forever. That ability is there to let the wave go back out, recover from it, and then move forward. And so another reflective question for you that I want to ask is, how would the moment feel if you knew that a wave of lack of confidence would pass? How would that feel within yourself if you knew that it would disappear? And I think as we come towards the end of this episode, the one thing that I want to kind of give you here is I want you to go away from this episode knowing that confidence isn't all or nothing. It's not you either are or you aren't. Confidence is a practice, not a possession. You don't possess confidence, you develop it over time. And if you're finding yourself not being confident somewhere, then maybe that's where we focus our efforts. And as always with Between the Noise, I like to ask a question for you to take away, to think about, ponder, reflect on, whichever action word you would like to use. And so today's is, what would it look like for your kids to see courage over certainty? I've been Chris. If you want to reach out, all our social media links are in the description of this episode. Thank you ever so much for tuning in, and see you in the next one.